Hi. Thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to Blursday Roundtable. This is a series where we sort of have free-flowing conversations about topics that really matter. So, yeah, thanks so much for taking the time out and joining me today. Would love to, have a quick introduction about you, and then I'd love to jump into the questions.
Sure. Hi, Dipika. So I run this agency. It's called the Orange Bulletin. I've been running it for around 6.5 years now. And it's been a while, but we'd already always defined that we want to be a small agency and want to work only with quality clients. Of course, we've had our own fair share of vision changes during COVID, especially where we onboarded new clients, had good and bad experiences, downsized again. But overall, we are a boutique company which takes up projects that we like, and we are sure that the clients will also like our work. And that's how it's been for the past 6.5 years. Now we focus more on performance marketing, but still find everything interesting about this space.
Got it. That's quite interesting. And 6.5 years is a very, mature time from like, starting out to establishing yourself as well. So let's just dive into, I think, my first question. So, you're still fairly a new age agency, right? Like even if it's been 6 years, it's still very much in the today's agency ecosystem. So, how do you sort of say price yourself as against other agencies, in this space? And I think this would be especially useful to anyone watching this video who wants to start out a new agency and, just is trying to understand how to either price themselves as a freelancer or price themselves as an agency or a group of freelancers. So, how did you figure that model out?
So honestly, pricing was something that obviously depended a lot on what stage we were in and how strong our portfolio was. So initially, when we started, our main thing was pick up as much work as you can at whatever price. Price is never a determinant then, and I would really suggest to people that it should not be. Literally, for the first 2 years, your job is to deliver what the client is asking for and deliver the best quality to build a portfolio. Just make sure of two things then, obviously, that you take permission from the client to show their work on your portfolio, because that's your biggest earning at that point. And secondly, this was one mistake that I did, which I would really recommend nobody does. Do not charge anything that doesn't cover your cost and gives you a slight margin. Even if like work is coming to you, say with cost and a margin, your social media retainer might be say 15,000. Don't go down to 12,000 and break down on the margin, because trust me, when you're new, the client also knows you're new and they're going to ask you for whatever work needed. And you cannot say no because you're just starting a relationship there. So it's best to just make sure that that is your minimal, is your price point. But then obviously, as you grow, as you get a stronger portfolio, I hear it a lot, since it's a service, there is no defined price really for it. You decide your quality. If you think you're bringing something to the table, then please do not feel ashamed of charging higher. So we've not really ever gone down to compete with other agency for prices, because I feel like each to their own. Everyone has one strong point and one weak point. Make sure you're playing on your strengths. Like for example, if your strength is photography or reels, etc., and you're working with a food brand, charge them to the moon. Like don't leave any money, because that's what's going to get them leads. But on the other hand, if your strength is photography and you're working with a corporate client who needs more to the point design and better content, make sure you're telling them that, listen, this was my USP, hence I'm charging lower. So that's how we do our price points.
Got it. You'd mentioned a very interesting point, right? Where the client also knows that you're just starting out and you are also sort of starting out. And this is a very tricky space, right? Because that's when I think clients tend to start negotiating on the price, right? And it's not so much in the US, but at least with Indian clients, we always want to get like the maximum without like 100 rupees worth of money, right? So, how do you deal with, such clients who are so particular about negotiating with prices? How do you either say no, how do you pick up, or how do you like negotiate on the scope of work?
So, for us, honestly, we got great learning experience on ground, since our market initially was just Calcutta, where we were based out of. And Calcutta negotiation is another level. If I quote someone 50, they come up with 5. So that's the level of negotiation we're working with. So obviously, initially, I would agree to reducing it to a certain amount. But one thing that I've learned is please hold your ground when it comes to covering your basics. Like I said, that do not, like, no matter how much the clients negotiate, because obviously, right, think of it from the business point of view, anybody will negotiate with you. It's about you having faith on your quality of work and what you're bringing to the table. So for things like when it's a retainer relationship, if they want to reduce it by like 1 or 2 thousand in a lump sum amount, we generally agree because it's a long relationship that you're establishing. But for one-time project work where you know that you'll be putting in X number of hours for this and they want the delivery quickly as well, please do not agree to negotiation. Time has value and it's your job to explain it to the client.
Got it. And you mentioned about like a retainer versus like a one-time project, right? And I think so. I speak to a lot of freelancers and agencies, and I've sort of heard of these like really horrible horror stories of clients not paying on time, and sometimes even just never paying, right? And this specifically happens on one-time projects versus retainers, because you can sort of like stop a retainer after 2 or 3 defaults. How do you manage those situations? What are some of the processes that you've set for that work for you?
Firstly, we've learned from experience here. We've also not gotten paid by like too many people on packaging projects, especially because once you give them the thing, they'll be like, we need to test it and then we're going to pay. The testing, apparently, you should know when they're saying they're going to test and pay that it's done. So, one thing that we've learned and we've started implementing is so there are a couple of government things that safeguard you from this. One is if you're registered under MSME, which we are, so if you're not paid within 45 days of raising the invoice, you can start charging interest on them. And if there's subsequent default even after that, you can take them to MSME court where their taxes really get affected. So have a strong team in place which can take care of all this. Second, please do payment follow-ups. This is something that I've learned from like really bad experiences, that nobody is sitting there to pay you money. You need to ask for it and you need to ask constantly. So I had a team set up in the middle which would just keep sending payment reminders. So suppose we send an invoice on day X. From day X plus 3, we start sending in reminders every alternate days. Hey, please clear the payment. And as soon as the payment is cleared, we do share an acknowledgement as well that, hey, your payment has been processed. Thank you for this. Because you don't want to seem like an agency that's literally running because they are fueling in the money. But at the same time, you want to be very prompt about the payments that come in. Third, please be open to conversations on payment. So a lot of things that we've seen, a lot of times we've seen is that you deliver according to the client's wishes, and then they say that ye to acha hi nahi laga, so we won't pay, we'll pay a part amount. So I've seen a lot of younger agencies, they get stuck on the fact like, nahi, meko to full amount hi chahiye because you've really emphasized on this point, which is why I've done it like this. But instead of that, please just get on a conversation, tell them that this is what I tried to deliver. If there's scope, improve and deliver another design, or just settle. But just get the payments in, do not drag the process. That's something that we've really learned the hard way, that close, just keep closing things as much as you can. And other than that, I think honestly, a lot of it is on the faith bit of it. We
Right.
generally don't get our clients involved. Generally, we speak to the accounts team, and touch wood, whenever we've gotten our clients involved, which again I've learned to do at a much later stage, just put in a prompt email that, hey, you need to make the payment. Do not seem like you're asking for something that you don't deserve. So that's been one more thing that we've learned. But other than that, of course, it's on faith. Be careful, have your processes in place.
Got it. And what are some of the things that you sort of take into consideration when you're trying to sort of understand whether you want to work with a client on a retainer, or whether you've had like a suboptimal experience with them and you don't want anything to do with them? So what are some of the factors that play key roles in that decision making process?
So I feel there are two categories of clients, to be very honest. One, those who want to be involved in the process, and one who literally just want to outsource the process. For an agency, the second category is the best category because they let you do your own thing. But when it comes to the first one, I think again, in that, you need to understand the client and see whether they want to really contribute to the process, or they just want to like put their expertise and make you do what they want. So I really don't prefer working with the latter, because if they know how to do it, they might as well as use tools like Canva to do it. Why do they even need me? But for the first category, who really want you to understand their TG from their point of view. So, for example, I've had one of my clients who's also a great friend now. So, what she does, when we onboarded them, she was really difficult as a client to deal with, like for social media, because she would reject every post. And obviously, it was testing my patience. But that time, since I just started Orange Bulletin, took it up more like a challenge. And I think it took me 3 months to understand that my point of view here really doesn't matter. What matters is her consumer's point of view. So when clients are teaching you things like these, please keep them, bear with them, because they're here to teach you something. But when obviously, if you feel like a client from day one, you get that vibe. I think vibe check happens in terms of clients as well. And when you feel that the client literally wants you to execute what they wanted, they want to hear what they've already thought they want. Don't go ahead with those clients, because even though you start the relationship, it's not going to end well for sure. But definitely take up the ones where you learn more. And of course, the easiest ones are the ones who don't care what's happening, but they do trust you with the process.
Got it. Coming to my last question, of the day. So you're a small team still, and you're still working with a select few clients, right? So how do you manage your cash flows in such a space? Because client payments are delayed, and you have all of this, but how do you manage that window of cash flows with your team?
It's the cash flow honestly becomes the biggest problem, because even though we raise invoices, we don't see them come on time ever, like the payments, especially. So what we do is, you make processes, you try sending out invoices on say second of every month, so that you can expect a payment by sixth or seventh. For the good clients, they do end up paying, especially retainers. Make it a rule that you will pay your team on seventh no matter what. So if you put that rule in your head, you will arrange for the money, whether it's for following up on past payments, whether it's jugadoing it in some way or the other. But you need to clear salaries, because if your team's not satisfied, trust me, none of your clients are going to be either. And last, of course, have a system in place, have a reserve. So this is something that we keep trying to build, that salaries for 2 months should always be your reserves, because that is something that cannot be compromised on. And honestly, for a agency, the main expense is the employee expense. Everything else, like rent and employees, are two things that you cannot compromise on. Everything else can be compromised on. So the minute you put this in your system and everyone on your team starts trusting that, okay, no matter what, even if I'm working extra, 7 tak to salary mil hi jayega. That's a great point where which makes your team stick around, because since you already have a small team, you can't afford to lose more people. So
Got
that's something that we've been trying to do, and Touchwood been successful as well, which is why we've not had at least people leave because of salary.
Got it. Got it. Cool. I think these were just some of the conversation pointers that I had for today. And also, I think we're running out of time as well. But Dishita, thank you so much for joining this conversation. I think some very, very interesting points for folks who are just starting out as well. And yeah, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much, Dipika. This was a pleasure. I hope this helps someone, even if it helps one person, it's going to be something.
Right.
And of course, happy to answer any questions that might come from it as well.
Got it. So I think I'll tag you in the post and I'll drop the handles as well. So I think anyone who's watching can always reach out to you with follow-up questions as well. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Blursday Roundtable. We'll be back very soon with more exciting content. If you would like to reach out to Dishita, please use these handles on your screen. And I'm Dipika, the founder of Blursday. You can reach me on these handles and Blursday at this handle as well. See you soon. If you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe, share it with your friends, give us a thumbs up. It would really help us grow our efforts of getting interesting conversations across to you. See you next time. Bye.